everyone, welcome back to another video on the channel. Today we're back on GT Sport and we're back with the FIA Nations round number 4, again at Autopolis. This time we're in the Super Formula cars. This round was again very tricky for myself, suffering with severe tyre wear. One thing I didn't know before the race was that the Honda was actually slightly better on tyres than the Toyota. I wasn't aware of this. In qualifying we made a massive error. We totally forgot to use our boost. We saved all our boost for one lap. We were burning fuel for all the way around. We actually pulled off a really good lap, but we forgot to use the boost. So we lost out on quite a high qualifying position. I think we could have gotten top 5 or 6 in qualifying if I would have remembered to use the boost, because we still managed the 1 minute 24.5 without any boost. With boost we would have been in the 23s, which should have got us in the top 5. I think if it would have been a 23.7 in the race, something like that, it would have been around P5 or something like that. So it was a bit disappointing. You see we were starting from P12, but we only had one attempt at this. This was the last race of the day again. Obviously we nearly got on for race 2, however we had an issue with the stream. The chat wasn't loaded on Streamlabs. We had to restart the stream. By the time we had sorted all that out, the lobby had already started, so I just ended up having to do this race as my first race in the Nations and the only race I could enter. So starting from P12, the aim was just to get a finish out of this race really and enjoy the race, because I do enjoy driving these cars. It's just a shame that we didn't pick the Honda, because the Honda was obviously better on tyre wear, and it was quite considerably better actually. A lot of people were able to actually pit on lap 4 and get the softer compound tyre to the end with no issues, where that was just totally impossible with the Toyota for myself. I just couldn't get the tyre wear out of it. But starting at the start, you can see there I decided to use all my boost, well, half my boost straight away, and managed to go through a nice little gap there and make up a position and got myself in a bit of a sandwich here. We got a little knock off the car on the right, but managed to use a bit more boost again to just try and get ourselves ahead and put ourselves up into P10. Then going into this right hand corner, we were on the inside there, and Zkip I don't think knew we were there, but we actually got a little touch from behind as well that kind of knocked us into him a bit, but we were up to P9. Quite a good start really, considering where we started on the grid, P12. And now you might notice there we had the mediums on the front for the first stint. It wasn't very fast over the outlap and the main, like obviously your outlap and then the first flying lap after the start. However, after 2 laps it actually equaled out and was actually not too bad with the Toyota. It was a better way for me to run it, obviously with the issues I was getting with the tyre wear with this car. So I expected the car in front to pull away over the first 2 laps quite considerably, as long as I could hold off the car behind, because what's important here is it's very hard to overtake with the dirty air. So I kind of knew that was a safer way for me to run this race. We had tried it in a test race earlier in the day, and it actually worked quite well. You can see there Tuscan trying to get past there. Obviously might have been aware of the strategy I was on with the medium on the front tyre and just trying to get past straight away, but I wasn't going to just let him pass. And again, going into this main start straight, this is going to be the issue. Can we defend? You see it looked straight away, I looked in the mirror and I could see that the car was gaining massively, so I used a bit more boost, just a little bit, just to defend against him. You can see going into turn 1 he has a little look, but then decides to back out of that move on the inside. I stayed on the inside, so there was no room there, and I managed to hold on to that position to keep P9 in this race at this point of the race. Now we've got some very fast drivers behind us. We have Rick and Skip, or Zkip as I call him, behind us battling away. I think the little contact that we had with Zkip didn't actually lose him too much time. He was right there behind the driver that's behind us. So just two cars behind us, and obviously going to be pushing very aggressively, very fast with cars like this. So annoyingly for myself, I had to run them medium tyres on this, even though we ran the soft tyre on the last stint. If you look at the lap times at the end of the race, I'm going to have a little, just show you when we get through to like lap 10 why I ran the mediums on the first stint, because it was actually quicker after lap 2 for me by quite a margin as we go through to that final sector now. And now we're finishing these lap 2. The medium should start bringing the car a little bit more balanced now, because the tyre wear is going to be kicking in and it should become a little bit more balanced obviously, and I should actually have pretty similar grip to the runners that are obviously on the soft and able to look after them a bit better after we go over the line and we start lap 3. So we're going down the start straight. You can see Zkip behind us there, getting just about in the slipstream I think there. Is he going to use his boost as we go down the start straight? I'm not sure he's going to be able to be close enough going into turn 1. No, not close enough this lap as we go into turn 1. And now you can see that we're kind of pegging that gap to Manu Rudry now in front. We started to peg it around 2 seconds, and that's because we were on the medium tyres. They actually started becoming a reasonably bit better now at this stage. And you can see the tyre wear as well, how much more even it is between the front and the rears. We had the rear balance all the way to the rear, 5 rear. I don't know what it has been, but the tyre wear has been so extreme for me recently. A lot of people on control pad have been getting better tyre wear than myself, which is really weird, because if you go back a few months on a previous patch, I was actually really good on the tyres. I was able to do no stops on the softest compound tyres where other drivers just weren't able to do it. So I don't know if there's something changed in the patch or what's gone on, but I did notice yesterday when we were testing, since the patch came out yesterday, tyre wear felt a lot better for myself. Even in the Aston Martin at Catalunya, it was much more controllable. So I'm hoping that there could have been an issue or something, but I'm hoping whatever it is seems to be solved, or hopefully will be solved, because at least at Catalunya we were able to drive the Aston Martin on the softer compound tyre and actually have some tyres left. It wasn't like we were really suffering to a point where we couldn't drive it. So I'm looking forward to seeing if there has been an alteration somewhere, or there's been an issue somewhere that's caused us to have issues. But in this race, you can see we're really suffering at this point. Zed's kit behind us is going to go down that left hand side. I used a bit of boost to defend, and then he goes back over to the right hand side. I didn't think he was going to throw it in from there. I thought he would risk that, but he decides to throw it in there. I give him just about enough space there to go down that right hand side and then try and hold around there on the left hand side, but this isn't going to work, so I decided to tuck back in and go down the right hand side. But Rick does a very nice move around the outside there. I decided to back off there and just let it go, because they were going side by side. However, Rick gives Zedkip a little nudge and actually knocks him off the track, which knocks me back up to P10. So it was probably advisable for me to do that and back off, because if I would have gone through there pretty much right behind both of them, it could have been disaster and we both could have been off there. But in the end, just Zedkip that goes off, or Skip as the other people call him, and I end up in P10 right behind Rick 918. And we're going to be coming up through the phase now where some drivers are going to decide to go in the pits on lap 4, and this was, I think, Williams Favaris did it because he was also in the Toyota. So I think this is what the issue was. I think the Toyota just couldn't really look after its tyres well enough. And I think what some drivers probably did in the Toyota was just go to lap 4 and then put the mediums on and then do the rest of the race on the mediums, because the mediums could actually do that. It wasn't a massive loss of pace in terms of race pace. As you can see now, just behind me, Tuscan, you can see that he's dropped off a little bit. Obviously, he must have been on the softer compound tyre than I was, because he didn't seem to have as much pace now at this phase. Obviously, this is where it's helping me out, but you can see I'm still in the, I was on 27s on lap 3, and now low minute 1 minute 30s there on lap 4. So this was helping me out in terms of holding me off against some drivers, but you can see there in front of us, Rick able to carry on with much better pace. Even I'm presuming he was on the softer compound tyre on the front. I don't think many other people were trying this method, and it worked for me because of the extreme tyre wear I was getting on them front tyres. It did create a little bit of understeer every now and then, but it was actually still very drivable and actually quite balanced, this car, because it's got so much downforce anyway in terms of front end grip. It wasn't too bad to drive like this. So you can see, holding on to this, we're actually in P8 at the moment, but that's because some drivers obviously pitted from the front of the grid. I think Tavares and a couple of other drivers pitted lap 4, going for that alternative strategy. And the good thing about that strategy was it gave you about 5 or 6 seconds undercut, because if you look at my lap time on lap 4 is 1 minute 30, so this is going to be like a 1 minute 31, and you can do like 1 minute 25, I think, or something like that on your first lap. So if you use boost as well and you've saved it for the boost for your out lap, it's possible to get a 6.5, maybe even longer undercut, which is massive, and it can gain you a serious amount of places. And I wasn't really thinking about that from behind, but there was a few cars that I wasn't aware of that had done it from behind, because you only see 2 cars behind you when they pit. You obviously don't see any further behind that. So there was other cars that had done it right behind me. You see most people going in the pits now for this. You can see all them drivers on the soft compound, and you can see there mine on the medium on the front, but soft on the rear. Obviously it just says M because it doesn't recognise the split strategy on the tyres. As we go in the pits to change tyres, we're going to go to the softer compound now, and we've got to do the extra lap. So this is the stint that's really going to make me suffer, obviously, with the Toyota, which is more aggressive on the tyres. As we come out the pits there, you can see we've been jumped by one car, and I think that was Pumpunku. And then going into turn 1, Jonas is going to have a little look up the inside. He's done the undercut. We're going side by side. We give him enough space there. He's twitching as he's trying to get on the power. I used my remaining bit of boost at this stage. I thought I've got to hold on to this position because I didn't want to get stuck behind someone with an extra lap on their tyres. And we just about managed to hold on to that position and maintain that as we come out of the pit. So that was really important, to use that boost and keep ourselves ahead of Jonas there. Obviously trying in the undercut, you can see how much a lot of drivers have gained by doing that. Yeah, I think Pumpunku in front of us must have gained about 5 or 6 or maybe more in terms of seconds in terms of doing that, pitting on lap 4. He's really got a massive undercut there. So now for this lap, we're going to be able to make a jump. As one driver's gone off there, it looks like TX3 Adam has had an issue there in the tight hairpin and has lost out, and obviously getting stuck in the gravel trap, that's not going to help his tyres either, as we now move back up into P12, and we've got a couple of cars that will still need to pit, I think, deciding to pit on lap 6. So alternative strategies going on. The lap 6 pit stop for me wasn't a good idea because you just lost so much in terms of cars doing the undercut, obviously, and it was so hard to overtake at this track, so it wasn't really a good idea for me. But you can see we're starting to gain a bit on Pumpunku at this stage, obviously with the fresher tyres. He's still a little bit ahead there as we go over the line, and see we take them 2 positions from the drivers that have just got in the pits there. So we're back up to P10 now in this race. So now we've just got to see if we can make any grounds on Pumpunku. Obviously he's done the undercut, however he is in the Honda, which did have quite noticeably better tyre wear apparently. It was TRL Lightning that brought my attention to this. They'd obviously tested it out. I didn't test out the Honda because I just went into the Toyota. Because of the sound of it, it sounds better. I decided to use that car. But now at least we know that for future races, and obviously you know this. So the Honda is apparently a lot better on tyre wear, and you could see it anyway, because as we're starting to gain on Pumpunku now, this is the second lap on the tyres, we're going to start gaining on him. But then just watch as we get to lap 3 how much our tyres die off. I think I am quite aggressive with this car on tyres anyway. I could have been a bit better in terms of looking after him, but we did have our brake balance 5 to the rear. And like I say, I don't know if there's been some sort of issue. I'm hoping to be able to test these cars out again in the future. Maybe able to jump on Sunday or something on Suzuka and test out the cars there, because obviously that is still the daily race, so I might be able to jump on there, see if the tyre wear is any better for myself since the update, because I was suffering with tyre wear on the daily race event as well at Suzuka. So you can see how close we've got to Pumpunku now, pretty much in the dirty air now, and this is where you're not really going to, you start suffering with a little bit of loss of downforce and grip as we go through the final corner and over the line to start another lap. You can see a 1 minute 25.7, quite a good lap there as we now start the 3rd lap on the tyres, and this is where the tyres are going to drop off. If you look at our lap times on the first stint with the heavier fuel, it was our first lap obviously was a 127, but our 3rd lap was also a 127. Now our 3rd lap now on the with lower fuel and the softer compound tyre is going to probably be slower than it was on lap 3 when we had the heavier fuel but with the mediums on the front. So it does show that strategy was working for us as we get very close to Pumpunku. Maybe this is probably not helping us a bit as well. He's picking up a bit of dirty air, losing a little bit of downforce as we go through some of the corners, but we're not really massively in the slipstream at the moment. We're about 7 tenths behind him, maybe just picking up the back end of that dirty air as we go through the tight hairpin, trying getting on the power and working our way down into the really fast right hand corners and then into the tricky last sector of the lap. You can see these corners very fast and aggressive. These really do take the tyre wear out of that front left. They absolutely destroy the front left tyre in terms of grip and wear. And now we go into the slower section. We have to be so patient on the throttle. You can see they're putting 50% throttle and they're still getting a little bit of wheel spin there. And then into this tight left hand corner, which is quite aggressive on that right hand side. And now the final corners, which this is one corner that really does take the wear out of that left hand side. You can see I'm just not even able to hit the apex because the wear's already started to kick in. And now Pumpunku is actually going to start pulling away because his tyres are in actually better condition than mine. You can see a 128.1, so we're already slower after 3 laps with the softer compound on the front than what we was on the first stint with heavier fuel with the medium on the front. So that's why the medium actually worked for me with this car on the first stint. It's a shame that I didn't know about the Honda being better, and it was a big shame that we didn't use the boost in our qualifying lap, because that would have jumped us up the field by quite a margin. We would have probably had a train behind us with the tyre wear. However, it would have given us the opportunity to pick up some reasonably good points, I think, in this race, as we now just try and hold on to P10, which isn't going to be the worst position. You know, in a race like this, with the quality of drivers that are in this race, as most people will know, you know, top split races like this, to finish in the top 10 is normally an achievement. You've got a lot of fast drivers in these races. You know, Favaris there in P1, and it's a shame. This is where again it emphasises the problem with the point system, that if you finish P10 in this race, you're not going to get anywhere near as much points as someone who finishes P3 in split 3, which is technically someone who's got 30 drivers ahead of them that were higher rated than them. It is a bit strange the way they do it. I think this is why, again, it does highlight the issue that split 1, in my personal opinion, needs quite a high bonus for getting into it. It needs some sort of bonus points, like 1,000 points just for getting in. As in the current state, obviously we know that if you finish in the bottom 2, you basically pick up like 100 points or something, which isn't really fair that you could have someone picking up in the top split that amount of points compared to someone in split 10 who's still getting 1,000 points. So it is a big issue. It needs sorting out. Polyphony need to do something, because a lot of people are starting to not really bother with putting the time in for these, because they know that the point system's it's skewed. It's not really, it would be better just to drop your DR on purpose, but like I said in the previous races, we're not going to do that, as we're still just about holding on to Pomponkia in front of us. You can see just managing to stay within that range of him, but now the tyres are really starting to drop off. We've got 2 laps to go, and just look at this front left hand tyre. It is completely dead nearly. Just wait for the final lap and you'll see how bad it is. It is really suffering quite badly as we go through the tight left hairpin. We're struggling to get the car into the hairpin. We're struggling to put the car anywhere we like. This is one thing I've never really been a fan of understeer on any game. I'm really not good with dealing with understeer, so it's not, when we have tyre multipliers like what we had in this race, like times 20, where 1 lap equals 20 laps, it's a bit too extreme in my personal opinion. I'm not a fan of it, and it doesn't suit my style. I like to drive quite aggressively and try and push the car every lap, but when it was like this, it just wasn't really working for me. As you see now, going into this final right hand corner, just look how much we're missing the apex by, because I'm just struggling to get it in there as we now go over the line to start our final lap. And that front left hand tyre is pretty much non-existent. There is no grip really on it, and this is where you can actually see we had quite a big gap to Jonas behind us now, which was a good job that we managed to obviously get ahead of him and use that boost out of this corner on that outlap from the pits. However, just watch how much he gains on us. He actually starts getting very close because his tyres must be in just so much better condition. Also, I don't know what tyres he had on. He possibly had the medium tyres on, which would have obviously given him a bit more grip also. As we now go through the right hand corner, you see Pomponkia starting to suffer a bit with the tyre wear also. He is pulling away a little bit, but also seems to be suffering on some of the corners to get the power down, and also to keep the car biting into the apex as much as he can. As we actually did that corner reasonably well that time, considering the tyre wear we had. And now into the tight left hand apex. Can we hit the apex this time? That was a little bit better. We actually got it into the apex, braking a little bit earlier, and did that reasonably well. We were actually driving this very cautious now, because this was the final lap and I wanted a top 10 finish. Obviously it was the only race I could enter in the day, so if I could get in the top 10, we're doing these races for fun more so than the competitive element at the moment, because we just haven't got the time and we haven't got the ability to do all the races all day like most other drivers can. So we just jumped on and wanted to get a reasonable finish of a top 10 as we go to the final corner, and it looks like we're going to get that. You can see in the mirror there, Joan was starting to catch back up, where we're taking it quite easy, but also because of our tyre, that front left hand tyre has only got the smallest amount of white left on it there as we go over the line and complete the race with a P10. So not a bad finish overall, considering we started P12. We gained a couple of places and we had quite good fun. We enjoyed that race. I do enjoy them cars to drive in general. They're a good feeling to drive. As we now on 1,004, just over 1,400 points. Like I say, nothing gets special. We had the chance on, I think it was round 1 or round 2, I think it was, of picking up some very big points at Cataluna in the Group 2 race. However, we made that horrible spin on the final race that pretty much lost us the opportunity, which was a massive shame. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed that video. I thoroughly enjoyed racing in them Super Formula cars. We're going to be back with more FIA races on Saturday. I hope you tune in to watch them on the stream, and then we will be uploading other videos as well. We've also got the manufacturer race, which again was a real big shame what happened there, but it was a really fun race as well, which I will be uploading hopefully tomorrow, so make sure you check that out. Thanks again for watching, everyone.